Dobrodošli na letošnji Instant Kult sekciji. Glede na to, da imamo tudi mednarodne goste, bom kar na začetku preklopil v angleščino. So, hello, welcome to this year's Instant Kult section. This is the section devoted to focused on a specific artist, author, that has an interesting, I guess you could say, signature to their work. And this year we're presenting the films by Sunčica Veldić. She's a Croatian veterinarian and filmmaker, so some of her films are kind of in line with this year's theme, but the way we kind of curated the program is also meant to present her work as a whole, so to show the different stuff she's interested in. So after the screening, there will be a discussion with the author. So please stay seated if you have the time. And now the last thing is we would like to extend a warm welcome to the representative of the Croatian embassy that is with us here today. And with that, I wish you a nice screening, and we'll talk later. Since this is a presentation of kind of your whole opus, we should maybe start with a question about how you started making films and why you decided to study documentary film direction after becoming a professional veterinarian.
Hugs Flux was my first film, which I completed after I enrolled to the cinema club in Zagreb, and where I learned the basic about filmmaking. And I was my hobby was photography since I was in school. So it was always kind of present, but the moving picture wasn't present until I met some of my friends who back then already were filmmakers, so they actually pushed me into it. And I realized that the themes that are around me from the veterinary profession are actually something that I want to show other people, and so it started, and then it was continued by me filming other documentaries that were available to me. And then when I actually ran through all the themes that were interesting to me at first glance, then I didn't know what to do anymore, and I wanted to put it on some kind of higher level, and then that was the reason why I enrolled into Academy of Dramatic Arts. And then I realized I want more time to make films, and then I quit the veterinary job in the clinic, but that was not true. Maybe it's connected with age and maybe with some kind of schedule, but I'm actually making less movies since I've quit the real veterinary job.
Animals, you know, they're movies about stuff that is going on around you. And I was wondering, what does this kind of personal closeness to the people and the themes that you're dealing with, what does it kind of bring? What does it allow you to do, or what does it help you to do, basically?
I think it's only a good start, because it's something that every new filmmaker would do. He would film something that is available to him, and after he's done it for quite a while, then the conclusion that it's right, are you going to live this life, or are you going to edit the same moments that you just lived, or are you doing something serious with that? So This is the crossroad that must happen at one moment.
One more thing, and by the way, if there's any questions from the audience, you can just raise your hand and okay, not yet. One more thing I was wondering about is in the final film shown, Drama is Overrated. It's very interesting how the film, a big part of the film kind of consists of people telling you you're not methodic enough or prepared enough. And what I was wondering is how is it possible for you to create such different tones to your film? For example, Hux Flux, the first one has a very kind of dark and sad vibe to it, and then other films have a very ironic kind of atmosphere to them. So do you have an idea of how a film should look in advance, or do you kind of just try to follow your protagonists or the animals or the people you're filming and only later decide on the, I guess, form or whatever?
Well, it's hard to speak about it because I think that I wasn't aware of what I was doing, but since you mentioned Hux Flux, I know I was very influenced by these protagonists, and I was immersed into their world, and I just, it was merely enough to push the record button and the film would look like this. But okay, it is my perspective and my choice of the shots. It's not completely true that it's made by itself, but the tone depends on the motive you are filming. And in the start, of course, I didn't prepare the film, and I spent much time in the editing room. And then at the Academy of Dramatic Arts, I learned that without preparation, you cannot make a consistent work of art.
So that brings me again to the final film shown, Drama is Overrated. It's very interesting because one of the professors in the film says that he kind of tells the story of the film that you're making or what he is expecting you to make, and in the end of the movie that you made is is very different from that. So I'm wondering, was that film was that the idea from the very start to use the footage from the professor that you shot with the professors? Or was that another example of where you had a bunch of material and were just putting it together in the editing room and kind of finding the vibe of it?
This film was made as my emotional reaction to my studying, because I couldn't find mutual language with this professor with glasses, Professor Dević, who was my main mentor. And then a colleague of mine said, why don't you make a film about how Dević pisses you off, and why can't you make a film? And then further it went, you should film all your lectures. So I filmed all my lectures, and then I went to this village in Zagorje, and then I tried to edit it, and then I realized I needed these pieces of my voiceover, of my commenting, and so this was the way the film was made. And then it was during the summer, and I showed it to my one of my colleagues' editors, and he said, well, this is not so bad. Maybe you should really stick to it as your film for this year, because I was doubting between this film, this theme, and another film that I couldn't finish. And then when I prepared it for the autumn exam, then even the Professor Dević said that it's okay, that I should go with it.
Any questions now? So when we were when we were selecting the films, we were kind of trying to show the variety of the films or the variety of the moods that you create in your films. So I think one film that kind of stands out is White Trash, because it's probably the most stylized and the movie where the most attention is paid to the visual part of it. And I think I heard in an interview with you that that was also a movie that you made during your studies. So was that like a time for experimentation, or are you planning to do more of movies that will kind of try to have a more stylized visual side to them?
Well, the conditions of filming allowed this film to be so neat, because I went to this junkyard and two times by myself and filmed some material, and every time they were doing the same procedure, like in a fiction film. It's like I even made a storyboard out of the shots, and then I wanted this cinematographer Ante Cvitanovic, who I went to one camera and documentary film collegium, and then I asked him to film it for me, so it will be better. And then he wasn't very fond of the idea, but the professor said, but you must film, we are here on this collegium, and you must film for your colleagues, you cannot refuse. Yeah, but and so we went only once, and this is what he filmed. So
yeah, it's very beautiful. One more thing I was thinking about was the music in your films. I noticed you used, I think it was twice, you used the music of Sibelius, so you also use classical music and then a lot of electronic stuff, and it kind of struck me that many of the kind of people that you seem to know that appear in your films have to do with music. They are rather music fans or musicians, and so I was wondering what is the process with music, with deciding on what's going to be playing in the background or what's going to be kind of creating the atmosphere.
Well, it depends. This choice of Sibelius music in Cat Stream was, let's say, a learning mistake, because I was in Tampere, and then I watched Shining, and there was a masterclass from executive producer Jan Harlan, and he was giving a lecture on music as a screenplay tool, and he was showing Shining, and then I realized that this film about Mirna, about this girl, is descending into madness film, and then I found some connection. Okay, now I'm in Finland. What are the Finnish most famous composers? And then it's terrible, yeah, and at the same time, it was luck that this film didn't get to some major festivals, because the rights for this concert and for this exact performance of this concert was from Universal Company. And when I put something that I found free, then it wasn't like that, and so. Yeah, this was the case with this film, but in other instances, I don't know. I went to music school when I was I played the piano and went to middle and what do you say, 8 years. But I was very bad at playing piano. But I love to go to music school. and ever since I'm listening to third program of the Croatian radio, which you have also some in Slovenia. What is it called?
Yeah, Ars.
Yeah, yeah. It's and it's always on in my apartment. And this other choice that you mentioned in my films are like depending on the protagonists or. For example, in White Trash, I have a friend who's making his own electronic music. But I regret in White Trash there are 3 instances in which the music appears, and the one piece that begins when the net falls onto the gulls. I don't like anymore. I think it would be better if it was silent, because the moment was strong without that anyway, so that was maybe a mistake, as I see it now.
Okay, well, I definitely thought it worked quite well. Any questions now? Okay. So perhaps the last thing that I was kind of thinking about was this. It seems that your work is it has to do with like with personal kind of relations to other people you know, but at the same time I feel like there's a kind of a big social part to it. For example, this can maybe be seen in the Shabby film, which we did not see today, but if I'm not mistaken, you'll be showing it tomorrow on the lecture you'll be giving. I think it's an interesting kind of also relationship between men and women, like in a more general sense. I think there were quite a few instances in the films where there's a woman speaking and she's just constantly being, or there's a man speaking and you're trying to, for example, tell your vet colleague that you're actually not, you're not making films in such a precise way or something, and they just do not listen. So it kind of made me think, how do you consider this kind of social aspect of your movies? Is it important to you that they also kind of have I guess a meaning that's kind of wider than just the fact that they're kind of touching personal stories?
Yes, I know what you mean, and that maybe is something that is that I, if live long enough, will try to articulate, but I wasn't trying to do that, because I don't know, I'm probably too lazy, and this opus of mine was just like a fruit of my boredom.
Okay, well, I think that's it.